Hey everybody, what's going on? I'm Rob Cesternino, and we have Amazing Race 32 coverage. That's right. We are going to be doing our Amazing Race 32 cast preview and draft here today as we get ready for next week's premiere of the Amazing Race 32. And let's welcome in our panel of drafters that are joining us here today. Very excited to bring in our chief Amazing Race correspondent back once again. Here is Jessica Leese. Jessica, how are you?
I'm doing great, Rob. I love that we have on a show about travel, we will be each representing one time zone here.
Yes.
So you got the Pacific.
Mountain time. Yes.
I'll take Mountain Time.
Okay. All right. Jess, always great to have you here with us after it's been a little bit of a hiatus since we've talked about the Amazing Race. It's been over a year since the last Amazing Race coverage on RHAP for Amazing Race proper. And it's been 2 years since they filmed this.
At this point, it's going to be like when you turn on Game Show Network in the middle of the afternoon and you see those shows from the 70s and it's like, oh, wow, why are they all wearing like these suits with vests and the bell bottoms? It really feels like this should be much more current.
Okay, well, we'll see if we see a lot of 2018 references from the filming of The Amazing Race 32. A man who has Amazing Race 32 coverage up already on parade.com. Mike Bloom is here. Mike, how are you?
Yes, representing the Eastern time zone, Beastern time zone, holding it down for Team EST. Yeah, can't wait for all the Catch Me Outside references to come in Amazing Race 32.
Mike, until for another 2 weeks, you're representing EDT.
Oh, okay. Yeah, sorry. Daylight savings time, as Young told us about in our Toughest Dales recap. Important for many reasons.
Indeed.
All right. Great to have you back with us here today, Mike. And then, of course, we're very lucky to have here with us a man who covers the Amazing Race Canada with Jessica Leese. Dan Heaton is here. Dan, how are you?
Rob, I'm great. I'm so excited to have, we did have Amazing Race Canada this summer. Australia was a while ago. And I'm excited about this season because it's supposed to be a back to basics season. And as a fan of old school Amazing Race, I'm sure this will be just like season 2. Exactly the same. So I'm really excited about it.
Is that what the word is? Back to basics for Amazing Race 32?
That is the exact vernacular that has been used. And so I have an interview with Phil that should be coming out on Parade in a couple days from now. And he sort of clarified what that meant. It's not, okay, we're going back to, fast forwards on every leg. He did admit that there were going to be a couple of little twists thrown in, but I would not be surprised if we saw another head-to-head, for example. We're not exactly throwing all the babies out with the bathwater, but he did say from a casting perspective, the past few seasons, basically starting with season 28, we've had like a theme. We've had social media moguls, we had the strangers, we had champions in their fields, we had reality stars. And though there are a number of celebrities in this cast, I think the casting in general, which speaks to, I think, the general strength of this cast that we're about to get into, harkens back to let's pluck people from maybe not necessarily everyday walks of life, but less so about bringing them together under some sort of common umbrella that unifies them, and more so about sending teams of 2 just out into the world and seeing what happens.
Okay. All right. Well, this is very exciting to have the Amazing Race back. It is going to be premiering next Wednesday night. Mike, what's the date on that?
So that's October 14th, and I believe it's airing at 9 o'clock after Big Brother.
Okay. October 14th after Big Brother. And then do we know what the schedule is for then? It'll be in that spot. And then the Big Brother finale is on the 28th. Is that going to air? Do we know what's going on there yet, Mike?
I mean, our experience from Toughest Nails has told us that we have no idea what exactly happens with scheduling. We can check into it while we're talking here, but I don't believe they announced any special, 1 week hiatuses. We also don't know. So this, is taking up airing in mid-October. And I guess the question is, there's 12 episodes, assumingly. Are they going to go all the way through to the end of the year? Are they going to go past the end of the year into the beginning of 2021? Because I can imagine we're probably going to get at least a couple of 2-hour episodes in this season, too.
Okay. A lot to unpack in the very mysterious Amazing Race 32. I can tell you, coverage-wise, we will have recaps of every episode. Plus, Jess, we're very excited for this. We will be adding a second Amazing Race podcast per week.
Yay!
We'll be having interviews. We'll take your feedback. We'll have some guests along the way. So we will be having a recap of the episode. We'll be recording those on Thursday mornings for the first couple of weeks through Big Brother. And then we will also bring you a second episode of Amazing Race coverage as we have time to really sit down and get to know these characters here in the Amazing Race 32.
Are we calling it the pit slop?
The pit slop? We'll
Continue
see.
your brand, Rob.
We'll see.
I'm calling it the tar pit.
The tar pit. Yeah, we can get into some sloppy stuff. Okay. All right. So without further ado, Mike, you were the champion of the last Amazing Race draft. So you will have the opportunity here to give us our draft order. And then because we have 4 teams, we have a little bit of a wrinkle. The person with the first pick will get the 5th pick in the draft. And then that's it. You're out. That's it, yo.
Yeah, so first of all, I feel like not just I won in having Colin and Christy win last season. Really, we all won in that finally happening, especially for us longtime Amazing Race fans. So suffice it to say, I am going to pick first, and I will take that 2-team handicap, the boot on my car, and see if I can still drive this thing across the finish line. I'm going to have Dan pick second. I'm going to have Rob pick third, and I'm going to have Jess pick fourth.
Okay, so Jess, you'll have the 4th and the 6th pick in this snake draft.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So we'll remind the listeners as we go along. Is there anything else that we need to say to set up the show before we start to do our draft and preview this cast?
So something that I want to bring up, because it really was brought up, when I and CBS revealed the cast, is obviously there has been a great effort in the offseason for a lot of these CBS reality shows, particularly I know the Survivor Diversity Initiative, which Rob, I think you've helped facilitate a lot of those great conversations about ethnic diversity in reality television and representation behind the camera and in front of the camera. Not to say that ethnic diversity is necessarily, a complete transition into or step into a fantastic cast. But I will say, I think on paper, looking at this group, this is a very exciting group. And I think it's also helped by the fact that there are so many different types of people represented. I think it's made people very excited, especially given those conversations about going into the season. Not to mention the fact that it's almost prescient because this season was filmed, as you mentioned, 2 years ago. So they were really trying to make an effort in this season, as Phil said, to, again, we're not completely going to 32 jamokes you can pick off the streets. But there are some names in there, but it really does seem like they were striving, I think, for a more of a sense of diversity this season.
By the way, 32 Jamokes is one of my favorite podcasts.
It seems like more of a 32 Jamokes idea. I want to add that I think this cast seems to skew a lot older than our typical casts. I mean, we don't have any super old people. We have one person over the age of 50, but everybody else is in their late 20s and 30s. And I think that's an interesting casting choice as well, because there's usually several teams of people that are 25, and we have a sort of young team, but there's nobody that's just hatched out of the egg and rolls onto the Amazing Race.
Yes. And actually, this show was filmed so long ago, everybody in the cast is actually in their 30s now.
It's true. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Not really for anybody who's
listening. It's a joke. Don't worry.
Almost everybody, though.
Almost everybody.
It's not true.
Okay. All right, Mike, are you ready to bless us with your first pick overall?
The Bloom Bless is here, people. Okay, so here's the thing. I have a couple of things that I want to bring in mind here. So I want to sort of, for a first pick, hit something that's sort of in the Venn diagram of a lot of different trends of this cast, because we have a good amount of male teams, and we have a good amount of siblings in this season. Yeah. So for my first pick of this cast, I'm going to bump set and spike this draft by picking Riley and Madison, the volleyball playing brothers.
Okay, volleyball bros. Okay, let's talk a little bit about the two pro volleyball players that I do like that on the CBS Instagram, they've started sharing some videos about these different contestants. Phil talks about them and says, well, beards are in now. So here are these guys.
I believe he's actually says beards are very in, apparently. So he's very much channeling that Ken McNichol of like, well, I guess this is a thing.
All right, Mike, why did you go with our bearded volleyball brothers?
So I do think on paper or on the court, there's a lot in their favor. You know, Phil has said that this season is going to be particularly tough. I think we've seen really with the trend in Modern Amazing
Not
Race
as
season.
tough as nails.
No, maybe next season. Though I don't know how volleyball players would really fit in with a lot of the occupations there. But suffice it to say, I think a lot of Modern Amazing Race is very just physically taxing, which makes me fear a bit more again for those everyday people than these two are. Say what you want to about volleyball. These two are professional athletes. On top of that, you know, I think that they have a lot of experience watching the show. Both of them talk in their bios about having grown up watching it. And I think knowing about the show, which there are quite a number of fans in this cast, is really going to help them. I think their dynamic is super interesting. They did talk a bit about how, you know, they can bicker a bit. But the interesting thing is, you know, we have some teammates on this season, but this is the only duo that is used to working in a team of two, right? Like there's no third wheel. There are no other people to sort of bounce things off of. These two know how the other one works because they can only rely on each other.
Only two guys to bounce things off of.
Yeah,
exactly.
There's no like third Stealing Angels member.
Yeah, exactly. So I think they're a bit of a wild card team. They said that, you know, they can be a bit tempestuous. They can sort of have their blow ups. And they also did note that, you know, endurance cardio is not necessarily their strong suit, but I think they have many more upsides than downsides. Plus, they also, even just from an entertainment perspective, they have a YouTube channel. So I think it's very clear they're also going to be, you know, if they are these athletes, they're going to be the ones that sort of bounce off the screen rather than, hey, we just happened to hit a ball really well and we got on The Amazing Race.
Mike, what do they do on their YouTube channel?
It's a lot of surprise volleyball content. It's them sort of breaking down the game, but I think they do some blogs with each other as well. But they're also solely responsible for the channel, so that's almost like their second form of income in addition to the pro volleyball circuit. The other thing is that they're both, and this will be a trend with the other athletes as well this season. They're extremely well traveled. I think Riley spent like a good amount of time in Italy. Madison went to Greece. I think being a pro athlete in general is conducive to doing a lot of travel. And I think you, as Jess can attest to, you pick up some things along the way that can certainly at least not hurt you in the race.
Okay. Jess or Dan, do you have any sort of disagreeing opinion about Riley and Madison number one?
Well, my disagreeing opinion is they were my top choice on my board, and I do very poorly usually, so that might be a bad idea. But also, I like it, though, because I think we've talked before about people that are really good and comfortable on camera and how well they do on The Amazing Race, and you mentioned their YouTube channel. So and I also think of Andy and Tommy, the team that was snowboarders that were athletes, but I might just be because they have beards, and that team had beards too.
Yeah, it actually reminds me of remember the beards from season 23?
Oh, I'm trying to remember.
Yes, I remember them.
Yeah,
they have very long
Brandon
beards.
And Adam. Yeah.
Right. So yeah, I think that they are going to do well just because they're athletes, but they're we've seen athletes that are not like NFL or basketball or whatever, kind of a different type of athlete that are a bit slimmer and they can run and they're just low key. And I don't know, I think they're going to do really well. But again, I like them. So Mike, this could be a problem.
Yeah, I mean, I can't disagree with any of that either. They were going to be my first pick as well, and I think Mike quite astutely put me at the back of the pack because he knows I am his biggest competition, and he put Dan in second because he likes Dan best, and it's no indictment of Dan's ability to
I
choose
like
team.
everyone equally.
I will say the team that I got the biggest vibe of from these guys was actually Bates and Anthony of season 22, who I actually had to Google their names because I did not remember what they were called. I was like, the very boring, low-key hockey brothers. Because I think it's an easy analog. They were siblings. They were professional athletes. They were well-traveled. They were low-key. And I think despite the beards and the kind of flamboyant sense of style we get from these two, they're going to be kind of drama-free, and that's a really good asset to have in The Amazing Race. The thing that I really don't understand, and I hope I will get some explanation of at some point, I just don't feel like a beard down to your belly button and beach volleyball seem like they do not seem like a good combination. My kid got into some sand and I had to clean sand off his head.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that took me 45 minutes. I cannot imagine what they must go through to comb the sand out of their beards at the end of a game.
I can imagine they just keep it in there. Like maybe they just weigh an additional 5 pounds because there's so much sand accumulated in their beards.
No, Jess, when you say a beard down to your belly button, that's not quite as long. You're exaggerating here, or did they used to have a longer beard?
It's called hyperbolic exaggeration.
Okay.
Yeah, there's no Matt Bischoff stuff going on.
Yeah, well, some people do have that.
Well, Matt Bischoff has a beard down to his belly button on a technicality because he only grew up part of it. It's a choice.
Yeah, no, not a big Sands fan. They asked.
Sand.
No, it's rough and coarse, and I don't like it.
Everywhere.
Yeah, it's everywhere. So they asked the Amazing Race players to give 3 words to describe you. Riley, I'm gonna guess he's the person on the left. That he said his 3 words to describe him are coffee, wine, and happy.
Is he a live, laugh, love poster?
Either that or he's like equal parts coffee and wine.
Yeah, WINE. Mike, I feel like you do a lot of Mad Libs on the B&B. I feel like that he did not nail the exercise here.
Yeah, I mean, I think he was trying to be a bit tongue-in-cheek, which, again, to Dan's point, I think speaks towards, like, the thing that they're trying to go for. I mean, you can, it always varies with that, like, look no further than the hippies in season 9 as to, like, I do wonder to a certain extent, will that personality, grate on us if they are trying too hard? But I feel like no matter what, if you last long enough in the race, you get worn down so much that veneer goes away of professionalism that like we're gonna see their personality at the end of the day. So hopefully it's not as rough and grainy as the sand that exists all over their bodies.
Also, my favorite question that they ask the Amazing Race contestants, because it gives you a lot of really dark answers. They ask them, what scares you the most about traveling? What scares you? Madison tells us the answer, getting sick the day I land in a new country, preventing me from fully enjoying the place I'm in. Okay. That's not that dark, but there are some very dark fears that some of the Amazing Race players have this season.
Almost all of them could be solved by Liam Neeson.
All right. So we're in the clubhouse. Riley and Madison are number 1. Dan, are you ready with the number 2 pick overall?
Yes, I am. Well, so Phil made an interesting comment in an article I read. He said, this is going to be the most physically demanding season since season 3. I don't remember season 3 being the most physically demanding season they ever had, so I don't understand that reference. I mean, Ken and Gerard and Terry and Ian, not really the really physical specimens.
Maybe they were remembering the basket bike stuff. Maybe.
They demanded a lot from Flo. But we've had the basket bikes and they nearly killed someone. It just didn't happen in season 3.
Flo and Floyd.
Yeah, geez. But so I have to go with somebody who's really athletic but I'm not going to fall prey to the NFL football players syndrome because that's always a trap. You don't want to fall prey to that. Football players can't run. You know this now. They're older. They're worn down. So I'm going to go with people that run a lot, which is Kelly and Levon, the hurdlers, who they're best friends. They're Olympians. They've won medals. They've won championships. They're still in their 30s. I think they are going to do really well. And they also seem to not be boring because we have a situation where we've had Olympians in the past or athletes where they seem like they don't even really know each other. Like they've just been thrown together. We had a team like that in season 30.
Yeah, Team Extreme.
Right. And they did well. So that's a good example. But the fact that these two know each other very well and also are very skilled, but also seem like they're going to be fun. And I want to pick fun teams. I don't want to pick boring teams, even though they often win a lot.
Okay. All right. Kelly and Levon, number 2. The Hurdlers. Team Drive.
They look very driven. This was a good choice, Dan. This was definitely a top tier team for me as well.
Same.
And they've got some reality TV experience under their belts as well. Kelly is actually also an NFL wife. She's married to a New York Giants linebacker, and she has made an appearance on Say Yes to the Dress.
Oh.
Which, not the first Amazing Race person to have appeared on Say Yes to the Dress.
Do we know who her husband is?
Yeah, she's got a Wikipedia page.
Do D'Angelo and Gary know who her husband is?
It's possible they all know each other. I will note that the volleyball bros knew who Gary and D'Angelo were.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's true. They pointed out, I believe they're in the little sneak peek that Phil showed of actually really interesting starting line at night in the Hollywood Bowl. But I believe they actually outlined the positions that they played previously in the NFL. They knew that much about them.
Yeah. I mean, maybe they didn't know who they were, but they could just look at them and decide from their type. It's Kelly's husband is New York Giants linebacker Jasper Brinkley.
Okay.
Now I know Rob's a Jets
Not a
guy.
household name, Jasper Brinkley.
No. It's a great name.
Great name. It's great.
Really
name. Should be a household name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Jasper
it's got
Brinkley
really good
sounds like the name of
consonants.
a caretaker of a haunted mansion or something.
Ooh.
Well, you got to have a career after you get done with the NFL. So.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. But Dan, let's get back to Kelly and Levon. What else has stood out about them for you?
Well, also too, I mean, Levon talks about how she passed the Florida bar and then went to the World Championships in the same year. So this is something where I mean, you never know what skills really help you in the Amazing Race, but I feel like she was doing more than just training to jump hurdles. I mean, that's a big deal. You know, Kelly has one of her hobbies is pole dancing. So, I mean, I'm sure when they have to climb up this big pole, that's going to be helpful, but you know, and
or the dancing challenges as well.
Yes, probably more that way. Also interesting too, that Kelly has kind of an interesting story. I mean, not in a good way really, but she had kind of a really tough background when she was young. I mean, suffered from abuse in 10th grade, even moved out, but now kind of works to spread awareness as a public speaker. So I feel like there's a lot more to them. And generally with something like The Amazing Race, the fact that they've been on camera, this is not just your typical, I hate to say typical Olympic team, like everybody just does the Olympics. Like that's the most typical thing off the street that anyone can do. But also too, I mean, if this is going to be a really physical season, something like I would use season 6 as a better example, or 25, for example, I mean, you never know because there's things like traveling that they seem to travel a lot too, but I don't know if they're going to be good at the race. But I feel like if this season's going to really test you, you need to be able to run fast. And also they look pretty strong because hurdlers even are different than like a marathon runner. You got to have this like giant calves and legs to be able to jump those hurdles.
Phil also said that they were going to be good TV in one of the CBS preview videos, and Phil found Roofer Lee, so he knows what he's talking about.
Yeah, he's 2 for 2. No, I mean, I really fell in love with them, Kelly in particular, in the video that was posted. I mean, even though my brain pick was Riley and Madison, this is like my heart pick because I really do like Kelly and Levon. They just seem like really chill people to like just gab with for an afternoon. So I hope that comes out through the race. They have resolved themselves to be like, we're not going to get involved with any drama that's going on with the other couples. They're not going to have many couples to really get involved with drama with anyway. But, you know, I'm very excited to see them on the race. At least they're going to make for great time no matter how long they last.
Okay.
Yeah, and you guys are just going down my list. So let's see if Rob picks who is number 3 on mine.
No, I don't think I will. All right. So Dan said it was a trap, but maybe I don't care because give me a man that I've drafted before. I'm going with D'Angelo Williams and Gary.
Yep, right down my list.
Does Gary not deserve a last name?
And also Gary.
Famous
he only
tight
gets
end.
one name.
He's Gary. He's I believe is he offensive? Is he an offensive lineman?
He's a tight end. He was a tight end. For the
I let the
Browns for
volleyball
a
players
while.
get in my head. Okay.
Which is weird because I believe there's another team on this cast that dresses like they're from the Browns, which is weird that we have a Browns player who's not dressed in orange and brown.
Maybe they're going to form an alliance.
Okay. Here they are. I know that Dan says, hey, don't take football players. They're slow and retire. I'll take a slow D'Angelo Williams any day of the week. I'm excited to watch these guys. D'Angelo Williams, he is a fun guy. He and his partner seem like that they have a fun chemistry. D'Angelo Williams seems like he's a really smart person. Also, I know that he was also very much involved with when in the NFL they used to have breast cancer awareness month, so that he was responsible for like all of the teams wearing like pink in their uniforms. I don't know why they don't do that anymore, but D'Angelo Williams seems like a fun person to root for. I don't think that they probably will win the Amazing Race, but I will enjoy watching them on my screen this season.
So I know we brought this up, I think, when the cast got released, and I think we got like a little bit of feedback from Akiva, but Rob, I'd love to hear from you as well. Do you think D'Angelo is the most famous NFL
far
player?
Far and away. I couldn't even tell you who the second most famous NFL player is.
I think I did tweet out a list of all of them at one point, but I would tell you I had not heard of any of them before they went on the race, and I barely heard of them after it. So it's not close. I think I even vaguely had heard this name, and I do not follow the NFL at all.
Yeah. So that it is D'Angelo Williams, and it's not close.
Well, I have a few tidbits about these guys that I learned today. One, they co-host a podcast called Cinnamon and Sugar Podcast, where they talk about. They had episodes on conspiracy theories. I listened.
Oh no! I rescind the pick. I rescind the pick.
One about companionship. Another one that was basically when you think of Jack Black, what is the first movie you think of? That was another episode.
Podcast?
That was an episode they did. Look up Gary Barnage on Twitter.
Well, I mean, first of all, the answer is School of Rock, but yes, we can keep going.
Are you a fan of that movie, Mike?
Yeah, I'm really a fan. Speaking of Amazing Race contestants.
It all comes full circle.
One other thing, D'Angelo Williams has a wrestling career that lasted for a very short time, where he tried to jump off the top rope and he missed someone and almost hurt his neck and then quit wrestling for a while. So he had like a one-time, they mentioned in the bio that Gary helped him with his wrestling career. So, wrestling comes up like the wrestlers we had that one time on Amazing Race Canada that did get a wrestling challenge. Maybe it will help him.
Okay. Well, what's it called? The Sugar and Spice, Cinnamon and Sugar?
Cinnamon and Sugar. It has like 3 iTunes reviews. So it's
this kind of sounds like a dollar store version of Rob and Akiva. Like just every episode is something totally unrelated to the other one.
I mean, listen, Clarence will tell you that Akiva's no cinnamon. He's far from it. I think this is a very fun pick because I do think they could very well do the Chester and Ephraim and just like get eliminated.
Chester and who?
Exactly. In the first few
32
episodes.
jabronis.
Yeah, the next guest on 32 jamokes. But D'Angelo does have travel experience. I think he runs a nonprofit now called American Football Without Barriers, where they basically travel around the world and make football camps. So he has a lot of international travel, which again helps a lot. Apparently, according to Gary's bio, he just runs 5Ks for fun. So I take Dan's point that like when you get out of the NFL, I mean, I think even being in the NFL, you're really on a ticking clock as to like your physical limits. But I do wonder if Gary was sort of able to keep that up. And I don't know. I'm D'Angelo, like you said, I think he's a personality, but I'm looking at Papa Gary too. Gary called himself a badass car rider line parent. I think we're gonna get a lot of dad humor out of Gary.
Papa Gary.
I'm going to I'm going to like watching these guys, I think, for sure. But I think everything Rob said about the NFL thing not being a trap, I think it's absolutely true. They're not that old. They are younger than, well, at the time of filming, they were younger than 3/4 of this podcast.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah,
they're not that old. But P.S., the old people this season are almost all younger than we are.
Yeah.
So there's that. I want to point out that Gary looks like Wayne from Letterkenny. He has the same neck shape.
Well, does it help that D'Angelo is like brandishing his neck like he's a vampire?
Yeah, well, he needs both arms to get around that neck.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm inclined to like them. They seem like they've got great attitudes. Also, I have to imagine D'Angelo is not a small guy, but with the two of them standing next to each other, he looks like he's about 5 foot nothing. So that means Gary must be huge. And this could be a problem. This could be like a Globetrotters style problem. If they get into certain challenges, D'Angelo is going to have to do them because if you're over a certain height, you can't get in there. So I would look for that to maybe come up at some point.
Yeah. Plane rides are not going to be that super fun either.
No, plane rides are no good for them. But I think it was a solid pick. That was definitely going to be my next pick.
Oh,
so,
good. Oh, I feel better about
so
this.
you all just
off
knocked
Jess's
me
list.
right out of competition. So I'm just going to start when it comes to my turn, when we have closed the book on these guys, I am just going to do the Dan Heaton thing of picking players I like and not even caring whether I think they're going to do well or not.
Okay. D'Angelo Williams, 3 words to describe you. A natural winner. There you go. Does not have an NFL title, though, to his name. D'Angelo Williams. Okay. Great running back. All right. And he works well in a tandem. Ask Jonathan Williams. Okay. All right. I screwed that up. It's not Jonathan Williams. I forget the other guy.
Jonathan Stewart?
Jonathan Stewart. That would steal his touchdowns. Yes. Yes. Okay. All right. Don't tell anybody I screwed that up, Dan. All right. The 4th pick is going to Jess.
All right, it's going to Jess. Also, I like watching Rob and Dan have this conversation about football, and Mike and I are just sitting here watching them talk about it like they're speaking a different language.
Well, you said Jonathan Stewart, and I was just thinking about Daily Show co-host personally.
Yeah, the Daily Show.
No, Jonathan Stewart is a terrible fantasy vulture that always you don't want him on your team, but you don't want the other guy. So it's bad news.
Okay. All right.
So for my next pick, I'm going to go, for my first pick, I'm going to go with a strategy that has helped me before in countless other drafts, including many drafts with our very own Dan Heaton. And that strategy is I'm going to choose the youngest team on the board because you pretty much almost always get far just based on your youthful energy. So give me the siblings, Aparna and Eswar.
Oh, yeah. This is another one of my heart picks. I really like them.
All right. Apama and Eswar. Here we go. All right.
Yeah, I think they seem like they've got really great energy. They have extremely big smiles and very white teeth, which kind of brings some Blake and Paige upside to the table. They are very driven. They're entrepreneurs. They kind of have their own competitions going. They have good ideas. They are forming their own companies, and they're really excited to be out there and to be running this race. And I think, like many people on this cast, they grew up watching it. Mm-hmm. They talk about watching the race going to Chennai, India in season 10, which is a fairly long time ago. So this really has been part of their upbringing. They know the game inside and out. And I think they have a strong relationship. I think they're going to do fairly well. I don't know if I have them on my winner board, but I have them on my go very far board.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fitting that you brought up the Amazing Race 3 because Eswar is working on something that he is working on a product called Flow to make you more organized and intentful as you use the internet. I don't know what happened to Zach.
And I believe Aparna is working on like an anti-AI software, right?
Is it anti-AI?
I think it's like trying to like curb AI, right? To like try to have us from living out that dystopian Black Mirror future. It's really trying to
it's trying to postpone the singularity.
Okay, maybe we can get her and Christian Hubicki on some sort of a TED Talk to get to the bottom of this.
Yeah, we need a debate between the two of them. But yeah, so this is
and the RHAP bot.
I really like this group. Like, I think this is like a great. I mean, again, even just getting we haven't seen their cast video yet, but even just like from the small glimpse we saw, I really like them. They seem very exuberant, but like seem to get along really well. Aparna in particular just seems like she is shot out of a cannon, and that makes me very excited. I think her hobbies are playing tennis, writing in cute coffee shops, preparing for my Bollywood breakout, volunteering for feminist organizations, going out to dance with my friends, bothering my boyfriend for photo shoots, setting flight price alerts to jet off somewhere, hosting board game nights that involve lying, and of course, watching CBS reality TV shows.
Wow.
Yeah, and on top of that, she's helping prevent, Skynet from taking over. So really, Aparna is a superhero. This is a group that I want to see last as long as possible. I think what they represent is awesome. I think they're originally from Chennai as well, and I do think looking at Tammy and Victor, for example, especially if they do end up going to India, I think that could very well help them. My only downside is if this season ends up being physically intense in terms of hey, pick something heavy up and move it over to another place 30 times. That might not be their strong suit, but it's hard to find many other weaknesses among them.
Yeah, go ahead.
I agree. I think that, the fact that they've done so much, her bio is so long, not just the hobbies. I think she wins the bio competition. She also has a PhD that she's pursuing in philosophy of computer vision from Cornell. I'm like, oh my gosh, they're 26 and 24. What have I done with my life right now? But they were my third choice on my list, and the top two had gone. So I think it's a great pick, and I'm excited about them. And I could paint a picture to myself of them being in the final three for sure.
Yeah, I don't see them going all the way, but I can absolutely envision them in the final three. I liked Eswar's answer of what are you most afraid of when you travel?
Yeah.
And he says, getting a stiff neck on an airplane.
I get it.
I feel, bro.
That's not a fear though. That's a perturbance.
It's an inevitability.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Maybe you get some power over your fears if you're just afraid of something that's definitely going to happen.
That's weird though. Is a haunted house for Eswar, you walk in and your shoe is untied? Is that your greatest fear, that something will mildly annoy you?
I wish I could remember the name of the New York Giants linebacker who runs the haunted house.
Oh, Jasper Brinkley.
Jasper.
Jasper Brinkley's haunted house.
I'm learning so much about football and other things, but Eswar, I think he says he's a fast learner, and that's 2 words, and so he really gave 4 words to describe himself, but we're not going to quibble. I think that's a really underrated skill on The Amazing Race, though. You have to be adaptable to whatever that gets thrown at you, and it's probably not something you've done before. So I like that he's also kind of looked at things that may come handy on the race and learned how to do those things. He said he didn't know how to swim until a couple of years ago, but he learned pretty quickly, and now he goes surfing. So I like this pairing. I think her energy and his adaptability will be assets in the race.
Okay. All right. We come back around now to Mike Bloom, who will make his second and final pick in the Amazing Race 32 draft. It's a high stakes pick, Mike.
It is, because here's the thing, in terms of the optics of my team, I don't want it to look so samey, but to be candid, I really do feel like the guy teams, most of them, it's a very top heavy guy season. I don't know if that's cast purposely. What I did notice is the more we think about it, the last male team that won the Amazing Race was 8 seasons ago, was Dave and Connor. And it sort of reminds me, oh no, let's not talk about that. It reminds me of in Amazing Race Canada 4, how 3 male teams had won in a row. And so they ended up casting maybe not the most elite athletes for male teams for Amazing Race Canada 4. I don't know. Again, I'm not looking too much into casting, whether or not they swung into the other direction. But you know what? I'm going to do it. I really love so many of the other teams here. If I had one more pick, I would love to throw another team in here, but I got to finish my team off with, it's going to be fully Team Superfan Bros. I'm taking Will and James, the dating reality TV veterans.
Oh, okay. Good pick. All right. Here comes Will and James, that they are reality TV super fans, and here they are, ready to compete on The Amazing Race.
Yeah, so they are one of only 2 dating couples this season. That's another reason why this season's pretty atypical. I think a lot of seasons, especially in that middle era, were just rife with these young dating couples. And between this and one more, we really don't have that much. But These two, you have probably seen them before. Will, I believe, was a runner-up a few seasons ago on America's Next Top Model. James appeared with his sister on the CW show Capture, which is essentially like a very intense version of Tag. But it's, I think, more so than that, these two are probably the biggest fans of the race that we have on this season, to the point where James applied for the show 9 times with various people, including his own family members for the family edition.
Yeah. He's going to keep trying until they found somebody that they wanted to see him with.
And I think, you know,
a little bit of an insult to all his other family members.
Exactly. Like that, you were clearly the wrong variable.
No. Oh, who's this?
And look, it's super fandom does not mean everything. Let's go to, what is it, Dennis and Erica or whatever their name was from season 25, the super fans who went out second. But I think these guys being such big fans and so knowledgeable about the show is going to help. I mean, look no further than like Tyler and Corey. You know, when you have general knowledge about how the show works or how reality TV works, that can certainly help them. They're very well traveled. I think their dynamic is very good too. And I think there's also a lot of boxes that they tick. Will, for example, not only works in global health, which gives him that accessibility to international information, but is also a dance instructor. And if there's one thing that Modern Amazing Race loves to do again and again, it's keep a beat or dance or sing. And I'd like to imagine that these two are probably going to have the biggest advantage when those competitions show up.
I mean, you're not wrong, Mike. This is a good pick for those reasons. I think they definitely know the show extremely well. They know this universe extremely well. And I think those are good assets. I will tell you, I'm going to go ahead and put it on the record why I did not pick them.
Okay.
So they are super fans of reality TV, clearly. They follow Rob on Twitter. They do not follow Mike. They do not follow Dan, and they do not follow me. And if you're going to follow, they follow Josh Wigler. They follow Rob. They don't follow me. If you're not going to follow me on Twitter, but you're going to follow Rob, which means you clearly know what RHAP is, I'm not going to pick you for my Amazing Race team because that is disrespectful to the entire Amazing Race podcast as a franchise. So I can't root for them. I'm sorry.
Well, sorry to hear. I mean, I'm a good follow.
Yeah, you are. I'm not disputing.
Maybe they're like Game of Thrones fans or something.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
entirely possible. You are a great follow. Josh is a great follow. I'm not going to unrecommend that, but so is Mike, and so is Dan, and so am I.
If they follow you now between the release of this podcast and the premiere, will you then get on the bandwagon with them?
I could be persuaded to get on the bandwagon, but if they do it just because they hear me calling them out for not doing it, that's like a pity follow. I'm not going to take it.
You know, if in your heart, if it's true or not.
Yeah, I will know in my heart that they just want that energy. They don't really care about me.
Yes, Dan.
I also wonder too. I mean, I know that James is a huge Amazing Race fan. I mean, he wanted to be on the family edition. I mean, come on. But Will, I don't know. Will talks about supporting him, and I know he's big into reality TV, but this may be one of those cases where you have somebody who's really into the show, and then somebody who's like, oh, you're into that? Well, I'm into that too, which that can work out. That's great. But I wonder about that, and just, I don't know. I didn't get vibes that they were going to go on for a long way. I feel it's so stupid, but I feel like he's almost too big a fan. Like I almost think about Gary and Will, that team, and how they did all kinds of crazy stuff to be on the show, and then they get on the show and they just, one of them, Gary, seems so miserable to be there. Just
listen, I don't want to besmirch Gary and Will, but put those two side by side with Will and James. And I think it's a bit of a different story.
Yeah. Just a little bit, but it's a good point, Dan. And how many Amazing Race teams have we seen where one of them just jumps out and has the super strong personality, and then the other one is just kind of there because you have to have two?
Yeah, I think, obviously, I think Will's been on. I'm sorry, I did not see season 21 of America's Next Top Model, so I can't say. But cycle 21, excuse me.
Cycle 21.
I think, I do think, though, it's interesting. I wonder about fears, too. Will's fear is he's 6'6", and he's afraid if he doesn't get enough sleep on a plane, he's not going to be his best. So maybe that could be what brings him down. Not enough sleep on a plane.
Will is also terrified of taxis, which should be very interesting.
Terrified of taxis?
That's what he wrote. He said that apparently, I think it's a control thing that he doesn't like having someone else, which I could imagine an Amazing Race. Like, I think any Amazing Race player would be like, yeah, taxis are the most anxiety inducing part of the race in general. So I don't think it's that unfounded, but it is a little weird that he said it, out of the blue.
Yeah, like being in control when I'm traveling and giving up control to a taxi driver terrifies me.
Well, I mean, how many times have we seen people get screwed by a taxi driver? I think it's a totally valid fear.
See, Dan, maybe he is a fan.
Well, I think he's a fan. And again, being a fan, like I said, isn't always a great thing. Maybe he's going to be like, it doesn't mean as much. So he might be able to keep a cooler head and do better. I don't know.
What about an Uber?
Well, Uber is a little different because the Uber, you have a little more control over at least summoning the Uber.
You have the app. Yeah.
You sort of get to like meet in the middle where it's like you have some modicum of control, but you're not exactly driving the car.
Okay.
You can sit in the back seat with your finger over the 1-star review until they get you where you want to go when you want to get there. So I feel like maybe an Uber would be preferable.
Okay. All right. It comes back to Jess here with the number 6 pick overall.
Okay. Well, I really feel like now that I have said my piece about Will and James, I have to put my money where my mouth is, and I'm going to pick the team that actually is following me on Twitter.
Oh,
okay.
Practice what you preach.
Yep. So this is how I know that they're at least RHAP fans, if not fans of everything having to do with Amazing Race. I guess it's theoretically possible. It's theoretically possible that you could be just listening to us and not super into Amazing Race, but I kind of think that's not the case. So give me Chi and Hung. Quote-unquote old parents team.
Yet 5 years younger than me. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. No, they're fun.
Yeah, they seem like they have a lot of interesting qualities that I think will be underappreciated skills going into the Amazing Race, and I think they might end up having an edge on some of these strange challenges. Like, I think we need to call out in particular the fact that Chi once ate 5 pounds of pizza in 60 minutes.
Yeah.
That's a skill. Like, how many times have we seen that on the Amazing Race? He might have even done it.
Yeah, text Josh. So find out if that's even possible.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I wonder if this is like a man versus food thing, or if this is like his buddies were like, yeah, look at all this pizza, I bet you can't eat it in an hour, and then just see what happens.
I bet he got a t-shirt. That sounds like the kind of thing, if you finish it, you get a t-shirt.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. 5 pounds of pizza. I mean, that's an incredible amount of pizza. I mean, how many slices is that?
How much does a slice of pizza weigh? That's got to be at least like.
I mean, a pizza is not 5 pounds.
No, a pizza is probably 2 pounds. I think Dan's got it right. It's probably 2.5 pizzas
in 60 minutes.
I could eat 2.5 pizzas in 60 minutes.
A basic DiGiorno pepperoni pizza cut into 4 slices would be just under 195 grams for 1 slice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Talk American, Mike.
How many
27.5 ounces for a basic DiGiorno pepperoni pizza.
Yeah, DiGiorno is
about a pound and a half.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but DiGiorno is smaller than a New York style pizza. I feel like a New York style large pizza.
Right. Listen to this: a 16-inch pizza weighs 17.75 ounces. So that's almost 4 pizzas. 4 pizzas.
4
change.
Pizzas
4 pizzas.
In 60 minutes.
That's a lot of pizza. That's impressive.
So they better not go to Italy and just eat all the pizza that they can.
The Italy pizza is smaller. That is impressive. Yeah. So that's a skill. That is an Amazing Race skill. Remember the entire ostrich egg. Remember the 2 pounds of caviar. Remember the Hungarian soup orchestra.
So that's impressive. That's impressive, Chi.
Chi's going to be good at this. And I like that they are both incredibly professionally accomplished.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I think that's a really helpful thing. They are very open to learning about different cultures, and they're comfortable in a variety of environments. I think that's really helpful. So I like that they seem like they're really prepared for anything. And it's possible that they just they sought me out on social media because they aren't going to last very long and they just want to know everything everybody says about them. But I think they're true fans of the show and of our show. And so for that reason, I support them.
So in addition to eating 5 pounds of pizza in 60 minutes to win the pizza eating challenge, coincidentally, they asked Chi, what scares you the most about traveling? Food poisoning, he said.
Oh, no. Well, listen, when you're putting so much in your body, it increases the proportion.
Yes.
I think, Hung had the really scary one of what scares you the most about traveling, suffering a tragic accident and dying without seeing my family again.
Yeah.
I mean, yes,
Nailed
you're
it.
the winner, but don't put that idea in my head, please. I want to be able to sleep at night. Well, what I will say that also is interesting about this team is the Hung of it all, because I think this is well, listen, we know that she bangs because they have 2 children, but I think that, or 3 children, but I think that this is a dynamic. Rob is literally face falling.
I just felt myself in the future getting unfollowed.
It's gone.
It's gone.
It's over.
But this is a dynamic that is like very concrete. Like both Phil and Hung and Chi were very upfront about how she is the more type A person on the team, and he is the more laid back type. She is a professional development coach. I think she wrote in her bio of what she does. I turn potential into promotions.
Ooh.
So I think that it helps their dynamic that they're going to be able to come in knowing each other. They've been together for almost 15 years. They've been married for 10. So they know how the other one works. I think we just have to figure out how flexible that is. I do not want this to turn into like a Travis and Nicole situation from season 23, where like everyone's so regimented in their roles that when the onus gets put on another person, it really shakes them. But I'm hopeful that Hung and Chi last a while. They also are using the Amazing Race as like their honeymoon that they never went on, which is an interesting choice. But hopefully it means that they're going to enjoy themselves while they travel around the world.
Yeah, smart. That's a good idea.
I also wonder too, I mean, you have all these competitive teams. I mean, not that they won't be competitive, but teams that are like, I win, I'm an athlete, I win. And you have a team that's like, we're going to take a vacation. This is going to be fun. And while she seems like an alpha and they're going to try, I wonder if that like the teams that are a little less intense might actually glide forward. You've seen those teams where they finish, you just go, oh, they're 4th, they're 5th, they're 4th, they're 5th. And you're like, wow, they're in the final 4. How did that happen? Because they're laid back and they're not, every challenge isn't a chance to just fall apart. Now, if they take kind of that attitude, I think they could be a sneaky team that could last a lot longer than we think.
I mean, the only thing you have to do every leg of the Amazing Race is not come in last.
Yeah.
The only one you have to win is the last one.
All right. We're back to me. 7th pick, second team for Team Rob. Jess, I really did like Hung and Chi. They were high on my board. But I have one other team that I'm also very high on. And I'm going to go with a father and son team. It's Jerry and Frank.
Wow, Rob, you're doing like team sports right now. You took the 2 NFL
sports.
players and
NBA.
You took the Kentucky basketball player.
Yes, Jerry and Frank, because look,
nothing but dudes between Rob and Mike.
Okay,
Rob and I are the broniest people.
I still have another pick to go.
That's true.
Okay. So here's Jerry and Frank, and Jerry, he's a legend in his town, that he is a basketball coach. His son sells luxury vehicles to high profile clients in the world of the NBA and the NFL. I like their dynamic, that they're athletic, that Jerry is 61, but getting it done. He does talk radio. These guys are fun.
They're fun.
Yeah. What do you think?
I'll be completely candid. I mean, I'm excited for them because this is also the only parent-child team that we had. I'll admit they were not very high on my list for a couple of reasons, but I'm excited to see them improve because they sort of have that like Ron and Christina vibe for me. And Phil even talks about how they like have a lot of unfinished business between them. where, you know, Jerry obviously has his own career as a basketball player. Frank, I think for a while wanted to be a basketball player and was mentored and coached by his father. So there's some stuff they need to work through. And I don't want to be ageist, but I mean, Jerry is the most senior member of this cast, and it's not even close. So I'm hopeful that they're able to keep pace. But I agree, from a personality perspective, I think they're very exciting. For some reason, Jerry called Frank the James Bond of James Bonds, and I want them to last long enough for them to explain what the hell that means.
Much like the next James Bond movie, this season has been significantly delayed and pushed back over and over and over.
No time to race.
No time to race. So I like Jerry and Frank, and I felt like that they really won me over on. I saw them on video. They're having fun.
I mean, you can't underestimate a good attitude in the race. And
true.
We have seen father and son teams go very far and even win. So we can't rule it out. And they're in good shape and they have a good bond. I think it's
James
not.
Bond.
Yes. They've got the good bond of good bonds.
Yeah. And
it was nice that. Go ahead, Rob.
I was going to speak to that. Okay. I mean, well, you know, Frank has not followed in his dad's footsteps of being a basketball player. This is how maybe he could finally win dad's approval.
Now,
when they win the Amazing Race.
You did say that he sells luxury cars to professional athletes. Can we sense like a mortgage gate thing going on here with them and D'Angelo and Gary, of like offering some cars under the table in exchange for, you know, getting eliminated the next leg?
Whatever it takes.
I mean, I'm more concerned. There's a team we haven't talked about yet that also includes somebody who works in luxury car sales. Is there going to be a bond there, or are they going to be like
James Bond?
Are they going to do a whole like Glengarry Glen Ross thing where they're like fighting each other because they're both in sales?
Pit stops are for closers.
That's right.
They're like, there can be only one luxury car salesman. That's what it is.
All right.
Yeah. Dan. Also, I wanted to mention too that Frank, I mean, he played Division I basketball for Appalachian State and like was a starter, and also played professional in England. So I don't know what that means with the race. I mean, maybe if there's a basketball challenge, either one could do the roadblock, but I had them pretty high up, like in the middle,
Leave
5 or 6.
Jerry, not to Frank.
Yeah, Frank, you didn't make it. You didn't make the NBA. Don't do it. But they're interesting. I think they could do okay. You know, I like it. I like the pick route.
Okay, thank you, Dan. I'm glad somebody likes it. All right, Dan, you have back-to-back picks.
You know, I've been wondering. I'm like, I made a pick, and I'm like, I've been sitting here for like a half hour. What am I going to pick again?
Yeah.
Oh, this is terrible. You know, and you know that the team I picked first is going to be first one out, and then I'll be like, oh, here we go. All right, so I was kind of happy that this team was still around. And this is completely different from my point earlier when I said I needed someone athletic. I needed the team that was the strongest because of this season. So I'm going to go in the other end because they did, you know, they've already gotten shown in the sneak peek. They've got their videos. And I'm going to take Alana and Leo, the dating couple, because
the Tinder couple.
Yes. Yeah. Well, and we don't need to worry about followings, right? Because I'm pretty sure that's Steven Fishback and Gabby Pascuzzi. We know that.
Bizarro Fishback. Here he is.
He finally made it onto the Amazing Race.
Yes, finally.
It didn't work last season.
So
it's Steven and Gabby.
I don't know about this. I mean, they really are brainy. This is not just a case. I know they talk about it in the sneak peek because they wear glasses, but I mean, Alana has an MFA in poetry, and that was her thesis. I mean, he plays the violin and does vegetable gardening. I mean, they're definitely, how they look is not completely like off. However, I think, you know, we've seen plenty of teams like this that you look at them and you go, oh, how are they going to do physically? But they have a good relationship and they're kind of, I mean, this is a kind of team that I feel like finishes 5th. And I know, hey, I'm not going for the winner here or something, but I feel like we've seen plenty of teams like this. And I also just want to have a team that I kind of enjoy and want to root for. And I look at them and I'm like, and this is again going against, this is why I lose the drafts, but I want to root for them. I like the attitude they have. I've heard that they may be getting married some point soon or have. So
Yeah,
I don't know if that's a spoiler.
They already did. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's, that doesn't spoil. I mean, it spoils that this show was not shot last month, but basically I think they're cool and fun. And I would not be shocked to see them. What I said earlier about a team that's a little more laid back and isn't as competitive, I could see that working here too.
Jess, are you swiping right or left on Alana and Leo?
Well, I have a lot of thoughts. I have more notes about this team than I do about any other team.
You have a lot of thoughts or Alana thoughts?
Both. I have a lot of thoughts and Alana thoughts. First of all, her master's degree is in poetry. And I think, like, of all of the advanced degrees you could have that would help you on The Amazing Race, an MFA in poetry has got to be dead last.
Well, there is that one roadblock you do where you have to memorize a poem sometimes. Maybe that's in her wheelhouse.
Fair point. But I think she's more about creating, and I guess it kind of improves your creative process. She's probably very good at thinking on her feet. I don't know. I guess I'm envisioning your MFA program in poetry as like the 8 Mile rap battle, which is probably not correct.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that the like panel is just people going choke as that battle.
That's how you defend a thesis, Mike. That's what it is. I will say I had the opposite reaction to Dan. I was thinking they almost never cast the nerd team. Like there's very few teams. It's not a given that you're going to get nerd teams every year. And I was thinking like Yale, it was kind of a nerd team. That was like the last one, I think. But you have to look like all the way back. I think it was season 9 that had people that were outspoken nerds. So that makes me think. Yes. So what do you have to do to catch the eye of The Amazing Race if you're a nerd in casting? Because you know there are a lot of them in casting. They just never get cast. So how did these two get on? What are they hiding? There's something there. There's a secret sauce, and that might be what propels them further in the race.
I think that they had the Tinder part. I think that like, ooh, Tinder, that's hot.
Oh, come on, everybody meets on
2018,
Tinder.
yeah.
18.
Yeah.
I in my head, I'm just
like, hey, we're nerds from Tinder. Oh, okay, we haven't had that before.
I'm sure that's got to be 85% of the casting pool at this point is like nerds that met on Tinder.
We got to pick one.
I don't love it, but I have a couple of things that I really like about them that I'm going to point out. One is that they did just get married, and he took her last name, so I quite like that. That's very cool and progressive.
All right, they're the Folsoms, aren't they?
Yes, they are the Folsoms now.
Well, his original last name was Leo Brown. That's a little,
hard to Google.
Yeah,
but that could have put him in a natural alliance with Gary.
I suppose so. So I like that.
Is he Brown Folsom or is he full Folsom?
I think he's full Folsom. At least he is on Twitter. I love that the team that was just newly dating when they shot the race is now married. One thing that was really funny that I liked a lot about them was they found some news article that was naming all of the teams and their relationship dynamic, and for some reason, like one of the couples got called dating, and then their descriptor was lovers. And so they ran it. And so they're using the hashtag beloved lovers, and kind of like that SNL sketch about the professors in the hot
Rachel
tub.
Dratch, yeah.
Yeah. So I think at first I saw that and I'm like, is that a totally earnest hashtag that they've adopted for themselves? In which case I hate them and I want them out first. But no, it's ironic and it's very funny.
I want to editorialize if I ever worked on the staff of like relationships. Like, there's something there. Like, you got it for her, just like trying to establish the relationship through the varying scales. I'm so torn with this team because I don't know. I think that because they're hyped up so much about the brains, that makes me feel like they're going to be the team that's surprisingly physically adept. Because I do feel like, to Dan's point, you have like them and D'Angelo and Gary as sort of set up as the two pillars of brains versus brawn. And I guess everyone else's beauty from that perspective. I think their relationship is going to be really interesting because Alana, one of the questions they ask in the bio is like, what do you hope to get from The Amazing Race? And Alana wrote, I hope to gain a deeper trust and better understanding of Leo, especially in high stress situations. My trust in myself can falter and I want to see how much I can rely on him. We are great complements to each other, great partners. And I want to test that. So I can totally see in my mind's eye right now, like a sequence where Alana is struggling at a roadblock, but Leo is giving her encouragement, but not giving things away because that would be a penalty. And like, that's how she's able to power through. I do feel like their relationship, no matter how far they go, is going to be like the source of their edit.
Yeah, it's a good thought. Yeah.
I also wanted to point out that Phil in the intro does say the things that you need in the Amazing Race. And he went brains, brawn. I was like, oh my gosh, he's going to go to beauty. But no, he said brains, brawn, teamwork with a little bit of luck. So currently this is Amazing Race, brains, brawn, teamwork, and luck, apparently. But yeah, I wanted to call out Leo too with some of his answers where when they asked what scared him and he listed a lot of things, losing my passport, getting abducted, missing my flight, riding the train in the wrong direction, that sort of thing. So, and also he's excited about exposing my senses to everything a search engine or social media post could never capture. Ooh. I don't know.
Well, getting kidnapped probably does fall into that
you get
list.
food poisoning. Just ask Chi.
My one final thought on these two is they are taking a hashtag that has been used before, and not beloved lovers, but they are branding themselves as the green team. I do see some green team upside.
Cease and desist.
I know one podcast they will not be guesting on anytime soon.
Yeah. I would fear the wrath of Justin on this one, but I also think they might have a little green team upside in that they are a team of people that seem very familiar with the show and very driven to do well, but not necessarily people that the show is going to go out looking for. So they're kind of like a surprise wild card ingredient, as Justin and Diana were, who turn out to be much more equipped for the show than maybe previously thought. So I could see them having a little green team upside, even though I'm pretty sure they're going to get some threatening letters about using that hashtag.
Okay, let me set the stage here. 3 picks are left. I have a pick. Dan has a pick and Jess has a pick. It'll go Dan, Jess. I'll get whoever is left. There are 3 teams left. There are best friends, Nathan and Cody, sisters, Kailyn and Haley, and other sisters, Michelle and Victoria. Okay, so Dan, do you want sisters or best friends?
Or sisters?
I was tempted to pick the team that reminds me of another team that did poorly, but I'm not going to pick them because I don't know. I just feel like I'm going to fall into a trap. You know, I'm going to pick a team that does a lot of what I think is one of the crazier things, which is noodling. A team that goes, put their hands into the water, into the mouths of catfish, pull them out. And I think if a team can do that, so this is Nathan and Cody, just so I don't bury the lead, but a team that can do that can do noodling. I watched a local news segment today about noodling where the guy from the local news got a big elbow bruise trying to do it. So it's serious stuff. And I don't mean to pick on one thing, but you know, they're the small town team. They're the Mark and Bopper. They're the so many other teams. I mean, we've seen sometimes the small town team goes out first, like in season 22, not 22, the one with one of those. There was a team that went out with the 3 teams that went at the very end.
Oh yeah,
so,
I think that was like
22.
The
22, right? I was getting confused with the other time, which was 25. 22, you know, that did that. They remind me a little bit of that, but I think this team's going to do better than that. I feel like could be wrong. I feel like their first one out of their 4th place. So that's where they're going to be.
No, I mean, you're right that like the small town never stepped outside my state borders until this race team. Like we see this as soon as Eric and Daniel, the firefighting twins, made it to like 5th place. I think Tim and Danny on season 23 made it to like 6th place. So it really does shoot for like that middle place finish if they don't struggle in the beginning. I want to see them. We haven't seen their video yet, so I don't really get a sense as to like how they interact with each other, because I think they're even from separate states. Nathan's from Dayton, Tennessee, and Cody is from the lovingly named town of Paint Lick, Kentucky.
What's that? Paint Lick, Kentucky?
Kentucky.
That is up there with French Lick, Indiana, as far as great town names with lick.
Was there just somebody on a lick spree that was naming a bunch of cities as they were going around the Midwest?
Well, a lick is a place where it's a salty place where animals go to like eat the salt.
This is where people go to eat the paint.
There was definitely some paint licking, back in my high school days, but I don't want to talk about that. My thing is, I think, like you said, Dan, if they fall into this trope, like David and Mary, I think is and Mark and Bop are the two biggest paragons of this, right? Like the fan favorite aspect that can come from the wide-eyed optimism. We even saw that so far in the preview. My concern is, again, if this is a very physically intense race, I think Cody works for like an environmental firm and Nathan is a lazy boy manufacturer. And so my hope is that they're not going to recline into bottom positions when push comes to shove.
Dan, can I ask you a little bit more about the noodling?
Yeah. So
why do you need to what is it, just because you can, or is that the ideal way to catch a catfish is with your bare hands?
I think it's both. From what I've heard, and I would not claim to be an expert. There's a movie called Okie Noodling that I once saw that really digs into this. But basically, I think the idea is, one, it's kind of like you're showing your strength. You're like, I am going to be one with nature and I'm going to grab that catfish. And I'm like, they had one where this guy grabbed this like 40-pound catfish and his arm was all the way up its mouth. And a little disturbing, but also you get, you get injured. I think it's like this whole like man versus nature kind of thing. And also, I don't know, maybe it is very good. Maybe it's something that helps you to get fish easier. If there's catfish that are just right there that you can just get, maybe it's great. But there's also, I saw a thing where the guy was like reaching under a rock. So maybe it's helpful for finding catfish that are hard to find. I don't know. It's a tough question. But also, weirdly enough, they do this, but then Cody, obsessed with safety. I read he wrote a blog post about safety that you can find online. He loves to talk about safety. He won a safety award.
Wait, is it noodling safety?
No,
or
it's about
just general safety.
They both actually work for Lazy Boy. The other one's an environmental and sustainability manager at Lazy Boy. So they both work there. So it's interesting.
Look at you, Lazy Boy, helping the planet.
But I don't know. I mean, so maybe they know how to do noodling, but also to be safe doing it. And that's what's going to propel them to victory.
Okay.
Yeah. I can say that I think some of the qualities that we usually associate with this kind of team are not necessarily present with Nathan and Cody. Because usually we have this like wide-eyed like optimism of I've never seen anything in the world and I can't wait to get out of my comfort zone. And these two talk about where they want to go in the world with this air of knowing a lot about the world. Like they don't pick the very first obvious choice. You have Nathan saying that he wants to go to southern Vietnam because it is supposed to be beautiful. And then you have Cody's answer is he wants to go to Bali because one of his life goals is to scuba dive with the mola mola. And I feel like that's not a response you usually get for someone who's never been out of their home state. So I don't know that this team necessarily fits that mold the way that we're usually accustomed to having them fit it. So they might be stealthily very good at traveling.
Now, when he means swimming with the mola mola, does he mean sticking his hand in a crevice in Bali and catching a mola mola?
I'm not sure. It's an ocean sunfish. It's not unlike a catfish.
Okay, so maybe that's his goal.
Maybe
he wants to noodle around the world.
It's a weird looking fish. I can see why you would want to get in there with that. That is
just stick your
fan. Oh my God, that thing is huge.
Hand down its gullet.
Yeah, you're not sticking your hand down its gullet. It's sticking its gullet down you.
Oh yeah, that thing is giant.
That's got to be a Photoshop. That can't be how big that thing is.
I don't know how.
No, here's a guy holding it in an article about mola mola mortality events. And I don't know what happened to that guy after he finished holding the fish, but I think that's about how big they normally are.
Oh my God. I don't think I could be more scared of the ocean until I met the mola mola.
Yeah, I think the answer of what scares me most about traveling may have changed.
Yeah, the mola mola.
Yeah.
I have one more.
God.
I have one more thing that bothers me about these guys.
Yeah.
Which is that Cody is wearing a brown shirt and orange shorts, and Nathan is wearing an orange shirt and black shorts. Like, get it together, Nathan. Why can't you get some brown shorts?
Well, I think you get some brown shorts after you swim with the mola mola.
Oh gosh.
Oh, two baseballs in one podcast. I'm calling that a personal best.
Yeah. They asked Nathan, what scares you the most about traveling? Nothing. They asked Cody, what scares you the most about traveling? I will miss a flight or somehow lose sight of Nathan. Like he's a 3-year-old at the mall.
Yeah, that might say something about their relationship. Maybe Nathan is the more easily distracted one.
Is that why he's wearing an orange shirt?
Yes, please make sure.
That's why I dress my kid.
Yeah, break out the Charlotte and Myrna whistle.
Like kids at a field trip at a baseball game. Everybody's gonna wear that orange shirt. Make sure you don't lose them. Mike, can you go noodling in a canoe?
Ooh, canoodling. I'm not sure. It depends on how long your arms are, because I don't think you could really break the surface of the water much if you're in a canoe.
Yeah, okay. Long arms help with canoodling.
Well, I think also if you bring a lover, perhaps, on that date, you'd be canoodling with noodling in a canoe.
All right. There are 2 teams left. They are sisters. Jess, you will take one pair of sisters, and then I will pretend that I was very excited that I am getting the other pair of sisters. So which sisters would you like? And which sisters by proxy will you give to me? Will it be Kailyn and Haley, or will it be Michelle and Victoria?
This is a hard choice, Rob, because I think they both have a lot of strengths, and I think we should both feel really lucky to have either one of these sets of sisters on our teams. So it is a really tough decision. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go with the one that I was scrolling down the list of teams earlier today. And I mean, Dan did sort of go to type when he picked Kelly and Levon first, but there's a particular team. I looked at them and I'm like, wow, these guys are heat and bait. So I'm surprised he never did pick them.
Heat and bait.
Heat and bait. It is a term
for catching catfish.
No, it's a term for a pair of young women, usually sisters, not always, that are extremely, like, they seem very physically fit and very energetic.
That's heat and bait.
Yeah, that's heat and bait, because he picks them. A lot of times they're like in law enforcement or something. He's like, they seem really tough. They're going to pull it out. And then they are like the first or second team out. And then I laugh at him a lot for being drawn in, because he always picks that team and they always go out like first.
Okay.
So it's yeah.
No longer.
You didn't take them, so I'm going to take them now. I'm going to go with Michelle and Victoria.
Michelle and Victoria.
Yeah, and they are a pair of sisters. They're a little bit. Yeah, they skew a little bit on the older side of this cast, but it doesn't really matter because this cast is all very close in age. But I picked them mostly because they seem to have a more complicated list of likes and dislikes, and they seemed like they had a little bit more there. Although I will say that Michelle's bio is about 25% car commercial, and the rest. Yes,
she's BMW car saleswoman of the year.
But then she also wrote for her job that she works in luxury auto sales, #car saleswoman, #BMW.
Yeah.
Yes. And she wants everybody to understand why BMW is the ultimate driving machine. Come on, you already got Employee of the Year. You don't have to keep selling on it.
Does she think that The Amazing Race still gives away cars? Yeah. Maybe that's why she's really appealing.
Not British cars.
Yeah, they've never had a BMW is not British. I think it's German.
My bad.
Yeah, Bayerische Motorworks. That's German. Yeah, but yeah,
I thought it was British Motorworks all this time, Jeff.
It's Bavarian Motorworks.
They do have a lot of Bavarian stuff on The Amazing Race.
That's true. They do. I mean, who's going to do better in Bavaria? Michelle, who works for BMW, or Riley and Madison, who look like they've already done that beard challenge.
Yeah, exactly. They look like they woke up in Liechtenstein. So this is a group of sisters. So I'm very intrigued with them. I think no matter what, they're going to pop on TV. It's just a matter of, are they going to be like a sparkler that goes off after 2 legs, or like a long sustained firework? Because they definitely have personality. I mean, Michelle describes herself in 3 words as energetic, entertaining, and extra. And Victoria, probably only second to Hung, has the second scariest traveling fear: getting abducted. Quote, "I've had so many close calls."
Yikes.
Whoa!
that's not good. And I don't know if that's something she's doing or just the people she's falling into, but like there shouldn't be so many close calls. I think one is one too many. I am completely honest. I have no idea how they're going to do. They could completely like, what was it? Like Meredith and Maria from Amazing Race 6. Like they were very much the personalities and they totally crashed and burned. We could see something similar happen here, or they could be like the fiery personas that make it, you know, very far into the race. I'm not entirely sure, but I'll be intrigued to see, you know, the comments they have about the vehicles that they get into, because none of them are going to be BMWs.
Victoria, aka Vic, she has in her favorite hobbies biking, sleeping, podcasts, working out, and cats.
Yeah,
something.
Yeah, you know, it's important. I mean, Michelle though, and bad things you probably will encounter in the race, is afraid of dirty bathrooms and contaminated water and language barriers. To me,
hey,
all
that's
those
all pre-COVID.
Yeah, all
That's
those are
true.
actual things, though. Dirty bathrooms. I
That
don't
was
know.
that Toughest Nails team, right?
Yes. I don't know what to think about them. I didn't know where to put them. I had them at the bottom of the board, but I don't know. I guess I don't feel like I have enough information right now. I mean, I'm interested in their story as first-generation immigrants. I think that's interesting, but I don't know how that, I mean, like Jess says, I'll be like, oh, they have a cool story, and then they finish 10th. That happens way too often. So I don't know. They could be anywhere.
Okay. So I'm very excited about my team that I have here. With the 11th pick, I'm taking Kailyn and Haley. As Phil called them, they are the Southern Sisters. They have been on their own since they were 15 and 16 years old, respectively. They are tough because they have been away from the family. Do we know the exact backstory of how they were on their own? Did they run away from home? Are they orphans?
Well, I mean, they said they moved out. Like, I don't know if this is a party of 5 situation where they just sort of like had to be with each other. I mean, God help them if it was like a really tragic situation. But I mean, if there's one thing that both Phil and Kailyn and Haley have put forward themselves is tenacity. The fact that they were working from that situation to also now like becoming real estate agents, which look, I almost feel like, I don't know if it's like a curse. I don't know. I don't feel like real estate agents, except for Chip and Kim, like don't necessarily do amazingly on the Amazing Race. Maybe because the first ones I think of are those, that team from season 25 that got eliminated first, that were real estate agents, the Miami Realtors. So maybe they can break the curse. I have high hopes for them because Phil really talked up their their tenacity. He kept calling them hustlers in the interview that I did with him. We know that hustlers can make it as far as 3rd place in CBS reality shows. The heroes will prevail, unfortunately. But I have like some sneakily good vibes on them. Like, I feel like they could be someone who really slips in and like almost Jen and Caroline style. It's like, oh, how are they? Wow, we're at the final 4 and they're still there. That's really surprising. Like, I think they're competent enough to maybe not necessarily wow us in these first few legs, but I think they have the skills to make it far and be able to be steady in their placement.
Yeah, I think that they were featured pretty prominently in some of the trailers that we got to see. And also, we know that Haley loves high-low, which I never knew this before. High-low is yoga, high-intensity interval training, and bar. High-low.
I have not heard of this, but it's looking at them. And if you tell me what that is and you show me them, I would say, yeah, that totally tracks as something that I think they would be into. Yeah, I think they definitely could be one of those teams that kind of sneaks under the radar. Like everybody is saying, they're very tenacious. But on the other hand, I think I was just sort of blinded by the curse of Miami real estate.
Yeah.
Not to say that you can't be a realtor and do very well on the Amazing Race. One Chip McAllister is a very successful real estate agent who won Amazing Race 5 against some very tough competition. So it can be done. There are many realtors who have done very well on the Amazing Race. I feel like it's one of those situations where I didn't get enough information out of their bio to say, yeah, there's something there that I can grab onto that says to me they're going to go really far. And yeah, we got a little bit of them in the few trailers we've seen, but there are two reasons you could show someone in a trailer like that. You could show them because you think they're going to go very far and you need to get to know them early, or because they're not going to go very far and you need to get to know them now.
I don't know, but look, that's my pick. You can't talk me out of it.
It's a great pick, Rob. I think at this point in the draft, you couldn't have done better.
Kailyn and Haley. They're keeping it realtor.
Is that their official team name?
No.
It is now.
Keeping it realtor.
You can run with that.
It's a freebie. Take it.
Freebie. Yeah. Okay. Kailyn and Haley. Okay. So there you go. Those are our 11 teams for the Amazing Race. Jess, they're starting off at the Hollywood Bowl this year. What do you think about that as a starting line location?
I've never been, Rob. I think you should tell me what you think of it.
Oh, I was going to ask you if that. I know that you are a concert fan. I was going to ask you if you've ever been there.
No, Rob. I've only been to LA twice in my life. And both times I really didn't stick around long enough to attend a concert. I know that there's a famous Beatles concert at the Hollywood Bowl. I've heard that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have been there exactly one time in 2014. Which was the same year as Cycle 21 of America's Next Top Model.
Good year.
Okay, yeah, very good year.
And I saw Billy Joel.
Honestly, Rob, I've never heard of you going to a concert that wasn't Billy Joel, so that tracks.
I went to Hootie and the Blowfish in 1996, Jess.
Okay,
so.
And it's been Billy Joel ever since.
Yes, and I also took my wife to a Mariah Carey concert once at the Staples Center, and it was not fun. Did not like.
Would not recommend.
Save that for the
recommend. 0 stars.
Yeah, well, it's interesting. I think this is one of the rare night start times. I think the last time we started at night, and the only time before that was just the one that you were there for in Amazing Race 25. So I think I'm intrigued as to why they went with that choice. Maybe it was just because of the flights, but we're going to Trinidad and Tobago for the first time, which I don't know. I think Amazing Race, for some reason, has a really good track record with like starting with going to hotter climates. Again, going back to Amazing Race 25, I forget where I feel like they went to a Caribbean island in the first leg as well. And that was like a really, really good season. So hopefully that means that the trend continues.
Yeah, I think we got to be, who's going to be the most excited about that is Jerry of Frank and Jerry, because he said that Trinidad is one of the places he would most like to visit.
Oh, right off the list.
Yeah. Knock it off right away.
Okay. So, all right, it's all happening. 1 hour episode to kick things off, Mike.
That should be, because again, it's going to come on right after Big Brother. So they usually don't do 2-hour premieres for one leg. If anything, it would be 2 episodes back to back. So again, TBD as to the schedule for the rest of it. I could also imagine, especially after Big Brother, we might get some 2-hour Wednesday nights because their programming is a bit slimmer nowadays. But yeah, I still am pinching myself that the Amazing Race 32 is actually coming. This is something that, for a while, let's remember that this was supposed to be back in May. No, it was supposed to start back in April, and then it got pushed to May, and then it got pushed for Tough as Nails. It was just sort of in limbo, and then finally got announced for the fall, and then finally it got announced for October. So I am so excited for this cast, no matter who got drafted where. I'm so excited for them to finally be able to talk about this experience, and I'm so excited to get to talk about them talking about this experience.
Yeah, I do wonder if we might end up with the 2-hour Amazing Race blocks to once we get through Big Brother. That might be the way that they end up doing it.
I don't know, because I feel like we get those 2-hour Amazing Race blocks when they're trying to burn it off. And nobody's burning anything off right now because there's no new TV, because we're in the darkest timeline. So they may stretch it out. It may be February by the time we're done with this.
You think that they're going to do extra episodes?
Oh, yeah, extra episodes. We're going to do a behind the scenes clip show. Remember in the Survivor when you'd stop over Thanksgiving and have a clip show?
Yeah. Not to get too far into the weeds with this, but typically the Amazing Race season is 11 or 12 episodes, Jess?
I think it's 12.
Okay, so that'll take us, there's 4, or there'll be 3 weeks in October, and that'll take us through. I guess we could do 1 week at a time until maybe 2 hours on December 16th. So maybe we end up just doing the one a week.
Well, we'll see. We'll see what happens. I hope by the time we get there.
Yeah, I mean, they're not, I don't think. I mean, I guess they could do it. December 23rd could be the finale, but I think they'll probably want to either burn it off either before. Like I could see maybe going to. Yeah, they're not going to want to have it on Sunday night, so I think that they'll wrap it up by the 16th of December. In my crystal ball.
I like the prediction, Rob. I think that sounds about right to me. And we will be recapping it every week. 2 recaps a week. And I'm very excited for that. One of which is more recappy than the other. But we got so much great Amazing Race content. And I'm excited for the opportunity to run with it, even if it took everything else in the world being terrible for this to happen.
Yeah, we're here. We're here and there's no going back.
Yeah, I mean, okay. That's also, I mean, I don't know if you've seen the commercials. They were popping up a lot during the Big Brother triple eviction. It's like, yes. Don't you miss going on vacation? Well, now the Amazing Race is here. So it's a little biting, but it's a little, I think of all the times to be voyeuristic about the Amazing Race, I think this is the most opportunistic for them to do that.
Yeah.
Look, man, I work in the travel industry, so we need all the help we can get.
Okay. All right. Very exciting stuff. Dan, anything else you want to say about the Amazing Race?
No, I'm just super excited. It feels like so long, and now I feel good about my teams, but mostly I think it's just so awesome we have this because we need it. We need this show to be on, and I hope somehow we get more seasons after, but regardless, it's really fun to have it back.
Okay. All right. I just want to just give a sense of November 10th, 2018 was when this season was filming. What do you think were the #1 movies at the box office in November 2018?
Oh boy, you're turning this back on me after the Lost podcast, Rob. This is due recompense.
What was 2018?
I think horrible. I'm gonna say it was Apocalypse Now and Godfather and Taxi Driver.
Yeah. Wow. Believe it or not, it was Dr. Seuss's The Grinch.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, of course.
That was, followed by
I guess
Bohemian Rhapsody, which that does go full circle because we did visit Freddie Mercury's home on
or that one time they thought it was a pile of rocks.
Yes. The Nutcracker and the Four Realms. Remember that?
No.
Overlord and A Star Is Born.
Oh yeah. I saw 2 of those back to back on a flight back from London that following spring.
Yeah. So those were the top movies back in November of 2018. Wow. Okay.
What was the #1 song? Do you know?
I don't know.
It's probably Shallow.
Let's see. Let's see. Because I'm assuming if we're using the same website here, I don't know. I was gonna say I don't know why I thought it was gonna be Gangnam Style because that's way too.
That was 2012, Mike.
Not that long ago.
Yes.
Let's see. #1 song on November 22nd, 2018, according to Birthday Jams. Thank You Next by Amanda Ariana Grande.
Oh, wow. Okay. And the #1 podcast was Rob Sister and Talks with the 8th player voted out of Survivor, David versus Goliath.
8th player. Who was
that? I think that was John Hennigan.
Yeah.
How do you know that?
No, Elizabeth Olsen.
Oh, okay, I was off by all right because of B.
There you go.
What are we doing?
This is a time capsule. Just
reminiscing. It's nostalgia, Mike.
Yeah.
People are
where
saying
we are. Time and a place.
Podcast right now.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Dan, where can people keep up with what you're doing?
Well, I do a podcast about theme parks called the Tomorrow Society Podcast. I interview people that worked on various behind the scenes podcasters. Even Jess was on. She was amazing. Authors, lots of people, and it's at tomorrowsociety.com.
Okay. How's the theme park podcast stuff going right now?
Well, it's kind of weird. Like I just had a show that came out this week where we talked a lot about going to Disney World with masks on during a pandemic, which I have not done because I just can't do that. But it's weird. But I'm talking a lot about history, so it's okay. But it's who knows? They're laying people off, they're closing attractions, parks. I don't know. It's an ugly time. So it's weird, but I think it'd be weirder if I was like living in Orlando covering the news every day. So the way I do it, it's like, well, sometimes we're talking about things that opened 40 years ago. So that's not that different. And it might actually be nice with nostalgia, but it's like every industry, they're hurting big time, I think.
Okay. Mike Bloom, what do you have going on these days?
So Amazing Race wise, we haven't had official confirmation yet, but hopefully I should be doing exit press with the team that was most recently eliminated. Those will
they be able to remember what happened?
Yeah, exactly. I think they made the episode when we asked, like, what happened that we didn't see. They're like, honestly, you know better than I.
I would have wrote it down. I felt strongly at the time.
Exactly. So check that out at parade.com. We mentioned Big Brother as it is wrapping up its final weeks. Of course, I'm going on to the B&B every week with Liana Boris as we do some very ridiculous stuff around Big Brother 22. Also doing exit press for Parade with Big Brother.
Great B&B this week.
Thank you. Chappelle is a star, so we were very lucky to have him. A Star is Born.
Just much like November 2018.
Yeah, number 4 movie, but he's number 1. And then over on post-show recaps, of course, Josh Wigler and I continue to go down the hatch as we reach the middle of season 3, actually talking about modes of transport. Will might be afraid of taxis, but this week we're all afraid of Dharma vans as we cover Trisha Tanaka is Dead. And Jess and I are getting ready to cover another CBS property in the return of Star Trek Discovery / a bon voyage to Star Trek Lower Decks. In talking before this podcast, we have very different thoughts about the series, but I think that's going to lead to a very fun podcast. So it's going to be a simultaneous wrap up of Lower Decks, preview of Discovery, and then we'll be doing weekly coverage of Discovery every weekend until the end of the year, much like The Amazing Race 32.
And Mike, can you confirm this? This is a thing I had heard, and I do not know if they're actually going to do it or if it's just something that was being talked about. Is CBS proper actually going to be showing season 1 of Discovery this fall?
They have been. Yeah, they actually have been. Okay. So 10 o'clock on Thursdays they've been showing episodes of, so it's not exactly, the prime time hour, but in the DVR days, it's easy to record and watch. So yeah, people haven't yet checked out season 1 of Star Trek Discovery and you're looking for some stuff to fill up your time before you're waiting for The Amazing Race or in between episodes, I think those are 14 episodes that'll be airing. And then if you're jonesing for some more stuff, check out season 2 on CBS All Access and then check out our podcast coverage.
You could check out our old podcast coverage concurrently with whatever you're watching.
Yeah.
Exactly. It holds up.
Yeah. It's all happening. Was that November 2018 also?
Yeah.
I think so.
No, season 2 was beginning of 2019, was like spring 2019.
Okay. All right. There you go. All right. Jess, I know you are back with Walking Dead coverage as well.
Yeah, we just dropped our season finale coverage finally of Walking Dead.
Talk about delays.
Yeah, talk about delays. Schwigler and I recorded it, and I think it actually just hit your feeds. So we are kicking off what we're calling the podcast this fall is going to be called Fear the Walking Dead World Beyond, because we are covering 2 Walking Dead spin-off series in one very fun podcast. We are not taking it super seriously. I think we're going to have a very good time. But before all that, you can get caught up with everything that has happened in Walking Dead proper. Mm-hmm. There is a podcast in which we do that exact thing, and then we move right into the season finale. And I highly recommend all of our Walking Dead coverage because we have such a good time recording it. I think you will also have a good time listening to it. And I would be remiss if I did not mention that post-show recaps is now available on Patreon.
Yeah!
Yay! And we are really excited about all of the patron-only coverage that we're going to be bringing you of all kinds of weird stuff. And we have some very fun podcasts planned, and we have a newsletter planned. And there's so much great content that's going to be available to you both in front of and behind the patron wall. So get on that. If you want to see the free stuff stuff's great. The pay stuff's great too.
Okay. postshowrecaps.com/patron for all of that. Just AMC has 2 Walking Dead series that are going to be on at the same time.
Yep. Back to back. There's Fear the Walking Dead, which you already know.
There's so much demand for more Walking Dead because that people are like, what if we lived in an apocalyptic world? What would that be like?
Yeah,
I wish there was 2 shows on back to back that would explore that.
what if a pandemic had destroyed humanity as we know it?
Mm-hmm.
How would that work? I want to watch TV about the worst possible iteration of that.
Yeah, and then I want to spend another hour in that universe.
Yes.
Also.
Well, Rob, Fear the Walking Dead, as you know, nearly broke you. So you know what that is like. And Walking Dead World Beyond is a more lighthearted, more maybe YA focused meditation on The Walking Dead. It is some kids who have grown up behind the walls of, basically shut off from all things zombie, and now they are venturing out into the world where the zombies are.
Yeah,
and we've
sort
seen
of like a Walking Dead Rumspringer.
It's like Stand By Me with zombies.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it is Stand By Me with zombies. And it is, they can call it Walking Dead WB because that's probably the network it would have aired on if it had premiered in the early 2000s.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you all for checking out our Amazing Race draft coverage. Of course, if you want to hear Jess, Mike, and myself talk with the Savage Crew from Tough as Nails, check that out. We did a Savage Crew reunion earlier this week. If you are interested in other shows that were airing on CBS on Wednesdays these last couple of weeks, plus all of our Big Brother coverage over at robiswebsite.com. Thank you so much for listening. Take care, everybody. Have a good one. Bye.
That was a marathon.